And this actually kind of bringing it back to yesterday's Market Foolery show that you had David Kretzmann on. They were talking about the bankruptcy of SunEdison. And I find the conversation between this and that very interesting in the sense of like, we're talking about basically the astronomical growth of solar and wind to the point that it's,
it's competitive.
It's throwing,
and
it's also throwing the electricity market on its head. But at the same time, you have these upstart energy companies rising and falling, and
the market hasn't caught on to the success
yet. From an investor's standpoint, there's that kind of weird treading or weird point where is the company that you want to invest in that's really going to grow, and that's where I think it's so difficult because, and this is going to be a weird analogy, but I feel like investing in solar, renewables, winds, things like that, it's kind of like the Royal Rumble in wrestling. I don't know if you guys know the Royal Rumble, but
Yokozuna was always my favorite.
One guy comes
taking
in,
us back to our preteen years.
One guy comes in every minute or so, and it changes, completely disrupts what's actually going on, and typically the person
then somebody
that
gets hit by a chair.
Yeah, somebody gets knocked out with a chair, somebody gets thrown over the rope, and typically the person that started in the fight isn't the last one in. And I feel like with the solar the solar market, the renewable market, you do need to tread a little carefully in the sense of don't put all your eggs in one basket like this is going to be the company, because it's such a fast-moving industry that you don't know. There's so many things that could change in any given moment. We saw it with natural gas and the shale revolution. All these companies thought they could make a ton of money on this, and then boom, collapse. So
they did for a few years
Well, they made money and then they lost it all. So you can't just say this is going to be the company. You kind of need to hedge your bets a little bit because there is an opportunity there, but don't think that one company is going to make it
when
happen.
you started talking about your point, the first thing that entered my mind was that age-old Warren Buffettism. Boom, hits him with a chair. But
age-old wisdom,
but it's Buffett avoids technology because technological advances do not necessarily mean you're going to make money. Sorry, but Morgan Housel had that article a year ago, and the number one stock of the last 100 years in America was Altria.
Altria, making cigarettes.
Demand has been dropping for cigarettes for 40, 50 years.
In the U.S.
Taxes and lawsuits from the government, all this stuff. It's still beat everybody. So, tread carefully, folks. Actually, on that note, I did want to mention that we just learned apparently that, and it seemed kind of unfair, but I think, Mr. Crow, you sent this article to me earlier. It was over in Bloomberg. Wind and solar are crushing fossil fuels, and it talks about how expenditures in, just investing in wind and solar beat out fossil fuels by like 2 or 3x or something like that last year.
Globally.
We went over that last week when we had your energy quiz that you kind of failed.
Well, I kind of failed on purpose along with the audience.
Sure.
It was a good time. But it seemed unfair. It seemed unfair when I read it because obviously CapEx in oil and gas have been cut massively to
it's a cherry
60-year lows.
Right
I was
now,
like, that's not quite fair. But anyway.
Yeah, and that's another kind of just a general point for investors is stories can be very cherry-picked sometimes. And so kind of before reading it and having a knee-jerk reaction, kind of step back and take a look at it. When it says something like, it's outpacing, oil's growth, it's like, well, yeah, but there is very little correlation between oil and solar. Oil is a transportation fuel and used for plastics. Solar is mostly an electricity generation, and there's very little overlap between the two unless you want to talk about electric vehicles, which is 0.01% of overall transportation market right now. It's going to grow, but it's not there yet. So, when you see that, don't immediately go, oh man, oil's done because of solar. It's going to take time.
Not only that, but oil and gas is already a multi-trillion-dollar industry. You're not going to,
I think it's going to be at least a decade before this show is dominated by renewable energy talk.
Right. So
we'll still be talking about oil for a little while longer on this show.
We need to make plastics. You guys, it's like,
Well, we need oil to make plastic.
Yeah, exactly.
Until
well, no,
the
that was
sun
my
can
point.
make plastic.
That'll be good. Yeah.